Well, good evening, and welcome to this very special occasion. My name is Shannon Tennant, and I am the president of the Ada, North Carolina chapter of Phi Beta Kappa. I want to give a few special welcomes, one to Dr. Paula Stephan, who is the professor of economics from Georgia State University, and is here tonight in her role as Phi Beta Kappa visiting scholar. Elon is one of only a few lucky schools to be awarded a visiting scholar this year, and we're even luckier that it's Dr. Stephan, and we're grateful that she can join us for tonight's ceremony. Also with us tonight are two other honored guests, known to us all, President Emeritus Leo Lambert and his wife, Laurie Lambert. It was under Dr. Lambert's tenure and with his support and guidance that Elon gained its Phi Beta Kappa chapter. And though he has retired, he has been very busy researching and writing, not unlike many of you here in this room. And we're pleased that they could be with us tonight. And I want to say a special welcome, too, to the parents and family members who are with us. It occurred to me that for some of you, the last time you were at a ceremony with Dr. Lambert might have been a couple years ago on a very hot August morning under the oaks for new student convocation. Your student had just arrived at Elon and was at the very beginning of his or her academic journey here. It was an anxious, emotional time, and look how well it's all turned out. So thank you again for coming tonight. And thank you for all of the sacrifices that you've made to be able to share your student with us over these years. And of course, I want to welcome our inductees. Congratulations! Yay! Tonight, we will be celebrating you and your academic achievements. This is the beginning of celebration season. On Thursday, we'll have spring convocation, and please don't forget to wear your Phi Beta Kappa stole. And if you haven't picked it up yet, talk to Sarah. And at the end of the month, of course, will be Celebrate Week. And I know you'll be receiving many other well-deserved honors and recognitions between now and May. But Phi Beta Kappa is special. Other speakers tonight will be sharing details about the long history and illustrious membership of this group whose ranks you will be joining. But what makes Phi Beta Kappa a little different is its deep commitment to the liberal arts and sciences. Almost every week, you can read a news story that quotes some expert as saying that the liberal arts are useless and fill-in-the-blank majors will never be able to find a job. But the skills that a liberal arts and sciences education provide are the skills that are most critical for success in any field. The ability to think and ask questions, to find and weigh evidence, to consider multiple viewpoints on an issue, to build an argument, and to communicate your ideas. These are the skills that can get you a good job, but more importantly, these skills can help you become an informed citizen, a lifelong learner, and just have a successful, happy life. And these are the skills that you all have mastered through your studies. So congratulations again. I'll get off my soapbox now and give you a brief outline of tonight's events. So after the invocation, we'll enjoy dinner and conversation. And speaking of dinner, let me thank our colleagues at Aramark for the elegant and delicious meal that they have prepared for us. And then we'll get started around 7:25 with this evening's program, the address from our visiting scholar and the ceremonies. So now, may I ask Dr. Ann Cahill, Professor of Philosophy, to come up and offer the invocation.
Thank you, Shannon. I always feel that when one of our esteemed librarians gets up, I feel this urge to sing their praises. They should wear capes. None of our scholarship can happen without them. They're such a central part of the teaching that goes here on here at Elon. So thank you to them. For those of you who haven't had the experience, let me describe what it's like to learn to drive a car with a manual transmission. It is excruciatingly painful. You have the sensation that the car is a foreign, disobedient, yet oddly fragile entity. You feel like every other driver on the road is furious with you for the slow starts and stalls, and you're probably not entirely wrong. You're anxious and uncertain, and the car is making these awful noises, and it's not at all clear that you'll ever get it, especially because the person who's teaching you keeps saying the same thing over and over again, and you have no idea what they're talking about. You're painfully aware of yourself, of the car, of the road, of the other drivers, and you are uneasy. I'd like you to hold this image of awkwardness and unease in your mind as I share with you a question that has plagued me. The question is this: what is the promise of a liberal arts education? Which is to say, why spend at least 4 years studying this wide variety of disciplines? Other countries don't do this. What's the payoff of learning a little physics, a little sociology, some religious studies, some astronomy? Why spend time with economists and historians and theologians, listening to their theories, reading their books, learning to think like they do? Here's what a liberal arts education doesn't, and I argue shouldn't, promise. I'll disagree a little bit with my esteemed librarian colleague. It doesn't promise an easy transition to a profession. It doesn't promise a career. I don't think it promises happiness. Such things may or may not be the byproducts of a liberal arts education, but for reasons I don't have time to unpack here, they cannot serve as its motivating force. I'd like to argue that what holds the liberal arts education together is one capacity: the ability to make meaning. For the liberally educated, the world does not exist as a given, a static entity to be merely uncovered. The world as we meet it, and by world I mean books and molecules and bodies and librettos and illnesses and epiphanies and tools, that world is a starting point, an opportunity to ask, but what does this mean? What am I to make of this? What are disciplines really but different ways of making meaning? Anyone who has had the joy of reading a first-rate novel under the guidance of a first-rate teacher knows that dawning sense of wonder, that realization that there is so much more there than was first apparent. Reading is revealed as an entanglement, a grappling with words and their undertones, to which the reader brings her own history and mood and demands, a chance to make meaning. When a performer embarks on the experience of getting to know a character and begins to work on that process that seems so miraculous from the outside, of bringing that character's world to life on a stage, isn't this too the making of meaning? And what is a chemistry experiment but a chance to discover for oneself what happens if this combination of these materials happens under these conditions? The most important scientific question, I would argue, is not what are the results, but what do the results mean? To make meaning is to do at least two things. One, it is to reject the prefabricated meanings that are offered to us, or at least to recognize those meanings as prefabricated, and thus to hold them in abeyance until we have grappled in our own way, using all the lenses that we have accumulated and deemed valuable, with the words or data or experience in question. A liberal arts education has at its heart this critical moment, this hermeneutics of suspicion that renders it indispensable to a democratic society. But making meaning is not limited to an act of hesitation or even rejection. For if a liberal education only provides the ability to point out flaws in the meanings produced by a variety of social, political, and religious entities, then it would be incapable of contributing positively and substantially to the challenges that face human communities. The second facet of making meaning is a recognition of inescapable responsibility. To discover that one can make meaning, that one can interpret an artwork, observe the stars, decipher a governmental edict, is to realize that one is responsible for one's own conclusions. And those conclusions matter. The meanings that we make have real effects on real lives. There is no answer key. There is no guarantee that one is right, but meaning must be made. Which brings us back to driving stick. The anxiety that accompanies driving a manual transmission for the first time stems in large part from the heightened and total awareness of one's inability. And while in learning to drive, both the anxiety and the inability should eventually, we hope, be overcome. In learning to make meaning, they must be embraced and maintained. People often make the mistake of defining scholars by what they know, treating them as repositories of often esoteric knowledge. And sure, scholars know stuff, but what makes them scholars is not what they know. It's their irrepressible orientation toward what they don't know. Scholars, in other words, are always learning to drive stick. And the promise of a liberal arts education, a promise that both Phi Beta Kappa and Elon University recognize and honor and preserve, is the promise of making meaning in the presence of uncertainty and puzzlement. In the end, thinking is not like driving. Certainty and comfort stall it, and confusion moves it forward. So tonight, what values shall we invoke as our celebration continues? I suggest that we invoke curiosity and clumsiness. For it is when we are driven by wonder, by inquisitiveness, that we know ourselves to be always novices, which is to say, makers of new meaning. Thank you.
Good evening, students, families, guests, faculty, mentors, staff, and Dr. Paula Stephan. Welcome to Elon's Phi Beta Kappa induction ceremony. This is a great time of year to be at an academic institution. Tonight, we celebrate the accomplishments of some of Elon's outstanding students. We also celebrate their pursuit of excellence. On Wednesday night, President Book and I will celebrate the promotion and tenure of some of Elon's outstanding faculty. We will celebrate their accomplishments and their pursuit of excellence. So this kicks off, and you've already heard this from Shannon, this kicks off a full month of celebration and rubber chicken. I love this time of year. So congratulations, students, on the tremendous honor of your induction into Phi Beta Kappa. This is a very big accomplishment. Also, thank you for your intellectual leadership on campus. You are key to helping Elon University be the university that we want to be. Tonight, you joined the top 10% of students at the top 10% institutions. You have pushed yourself and stretched yourselves more than you thought possible. Well done. In the years to come, remember to set your expectations high and challenge yourself to always strive for excellence in your pursuit of knowledge and making this a better world. Your Phi Beta Kappa key will open doors for you. Again, this is a very big accomplishment. So most of you know that Phi Beta Kappa was founded in 1776 at the College of William and Mary, and their motto is, "Love of learning is the guide of life." I hope you all agree that the saying, the motto, "Love of learning," deserves more than being an axiom at a banquet like tonight. It really does deserve to be your guide of life. At Elon's first Phi Beta Kappa induction ceremony, our speaker was Dr. Don Wyatt. He also served as the site visit team for Phi Beta Kappa for us. Now, Dr. Wyatt, an East Asian history professor, gave a talk that I will always remember. He used verses from the Analects of Confucius. Now, I have to admit, I'm a cardiovascular physiologist, so I'm a little bit out of my league when I start talking about Confucius. But the words spoke to me then, and they still do today. So Dr. Wyatt used this verse: "To learn, and from time to time practice what one has learned, is this not pleasure?" I like connecting learning, practice what one has learned, and pleasure. If Dr. Wyatt had stopped right there, I was good. But the verse went on. Here's the next part. "To have friends come from afar, is that not a joy?" In these words, Dr. Wyatt offered that the best compliment to a love of learning is to be welcoming, to be hospitable. And what I really like is how this verse connects learning with welcoming and joy. Correspondingly, it follows that the desire to be welcoming inclines one toward learning. The act of welcoming leads us to favor listening. The desire to be welcoming heartens us to want to hear what another person has to say, even when the viewpoint presented might not be exactly what we agree with. Many of you know that during my 18 years, I have regularly shared my favorite quote, my motto. And it is, and I've worked it in again, I have no special talent. I am only passionately curious. And many of you know that that is a quote by Albert Einstein. I posit that striving to be passionately curious about everything and everyone inclines us to be welcoming, hospitable, open-hearted, respectful, and joyful. It is in this spirit that I challenge each of you as Phi Beta Kappa members to develop a commitment to being welcoming, because it is the surest incentive to heighten listening and learning. Today, more than ever, we need young people just like you, who value learning, who value practicing what you learn, and who value welcoming. As I stated earlier, your Phi Beta Kappa key will open doors and advance your career. But accompanying this privilege is the expectation that you will use your key to open doors for others throughout your life. Each of you can be the leaders our world needs if every day you never ever forget that the mottos, love of learning and passionately curious, need to be your guides of life. And with this love of learning comes the expectation of always being welcoming, hospitable, respectful, and joyful. We are proud of each one of you. Congratulations again on this extraordinary achievement. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tony Rizzuto. I'm one of the chemistry professors here at Elon, and I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our speaker tonight, Dr. Paula Stephan. I have to say I'm very happy there's a podium here because we're on camera, and I realize I'm wearing my C-3PO socks. So, thank you, team. So when I was asked to introduce Dr. Stephan, I thought, no problem, quick 3-minute introduction, I've got this. But having done my research about her, I realized 3 minutes is really only enough time to scratch the surface of the career of such an impressive person. Dr. Stephan graduated from Grinnell College, Phi Beta Kappa of course, with an undergraduate degree in economics, and then attained her PhD from the University of Michigan. She is now a professor of economics at Georgia State University, while simultaneously maintaining research associate status at the National Bureau of Economic Research. While I can barely handle my one job, she has thrived, publishing many manuscripts in peer-reviewed journals, and has even authored or co-authored multiple books. A short survey of her research shows just how productive she has been, and her research into economics of science and the effects on careers of scientists and engineers has really piqued my interest as a chemist. Her work in this area has ranged greatly, from investigating the role that gender plays in a PhD student's productivity during graduate school and beyond, onto a discussion of the disproportionately high productivity of foreign-born scientists. Her prolific research efforts have resulted in her serving on the National Academies Committee on the next generation of researchers, and she is a fellow of the American Association for the Advancement of Science. In 2012, she was named Science Careers Person of the Year, the first time this honor was awarded. To be honest with you, I'm very jealous of that one. I could go on and on, really, and tell you all about the visiting professor positions she's held throughout the world, Max Planck Institute in Munich, Harvard, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But this is not about my time up on the stage. So let's all welcome Dr. Paula Stephan so she can tell you herself.
So thanks very much, Tony, for that kind introduction. And I want to thank all the Phi Beta Kappa people who met me at the airport last night and who've shown me around today. And people have been so hospitable to me here. This was my first visit. It is my first visit to Elon. And what a terrific place. and I have really, really enjoyed meeting with students and faculty and staff today, and I really look forward to tomorrow, spending time with students and faculty, and then giving a lecture tomorrow night also, and heading back to Atlanta on Wednesday. So it's really been a good experience, and I should say that being in Phi Beta Kappa Visiting Scholar this year has been a great honor and has taken me to places that I never would have gone to before, and that's been very nice. So before I begin my formal remarks, I just can't resist saying something, and that is that I want to assure all of the inductees that this is not an April Fool's joke, that you really, really, really are being inducted into Phi Beta Kappa tonight. I mean, when Sarah wrote me last fall and said, and we want you to speak at the induction ceremony, which is on April 1st, I thought, they've got to be kidding. Will anybody really take it seriously? But look it, you're all here. So you have clearly taken it all quite seriously. So I really want to share 3 points with you tonight, or say 3 things. First of all, I just want to add my congratulations to other people's congratulations on your selection into Phi Beta Kappa. It's just a tremendous honor and testimony to your scholarly accomplishments while at Elon. And tonight you're joining a very select group of others being inducted to 285 Phi Beta Kappa chapters across the United States this spring. So it's a great honor, and congratulations. And the second thing is I want to congratulations, I think, are in order to you and your families, not only for your selection, but for participating in this ceremony. I think that's just tremendously important. One of the things I have learned over time is the importance of recognition, of recognizing and celebrating key events in one's life and the lives of those we love and support. Life has an awful lot of challenges, and at the times of challenge, it's terribly helpful to remember and be recalled to how we felt during those good times, those celebratory times when we got together with family and friends to celebrate the success of one of our close ones. So third, and my more major point here, is I want to congratulate you on having the good sense and good fortune to attend an institution with a very strong program in the liberal arts. I think that's just terrific, and let me say, I speak from experience here. My mother attended Macalester College. Macalester College, for those of you who don't know, is a liberal arts college in St. Paul, Minnesota. My father attended the University of Richmond in Richmond, that has a strong liberal arts tradition. Both my sister and I went to Grinnell College in Grinnell, Iowa. My late husband was a graduate of Swarthmore College, and my brother-in-law is a graduate of Bowdoin, okay? So you might say that liberal arts programs, liberal arts colleges and universities are, so to speak, in my family's blood. And at least for my sister and myself, it was purposeful. It was not accidental. So my mother died 25 years ago, and when she passed away, I just boxed up everything and brought it home to my house, and I'm moving. So last summer, I diligently started going through boxes of things that I had brought home. And one of the things I found was a speech she gave when I was 3 and my sister was 7. And the title of the speech is Why I Want My Daughters to Get a Liberal Arts Education. And that was before Sarah had written me, but I had already been named a Phi Beta Kappa visiting scholar, and I thought, oh, I better save this. This might be kind of useful to do. So I reread this. I reread it again last week. And a primary benefit she saw was the opportunity a liberal arts education gave one to interact directly with faculty. And I know that's one of the wonderful things you have here at Elon with small class sizes and this ability to interact with faculty and to build lasting long-term relationships with faculty. And more generally, she saw a liberal arts education as a great preparation for life and providing a breadth of knowledge that would serve one well throughout life, opening new opportunities. And that has certainly been the case for me. My PhD thesis was on theoretical models in labor economics. And by the time I was in my early 30s, I was not only really bored with the topic, I was absolutely convinced that it wasn't really a good fit for me. And I was thinking about other areas I wanted to do research in and that might be a better fit. So along about that time, I was asked to come to the National Science Foundation to participate in a review of proposals in the science policy program. And while I was there, a program officer asked me to think about studying the question of whether science is a young person's game. And his reasoning was that, and this is a long time ago, I'm very old, as you all can tell. This is quite a while ago. And his reasoning was that as a result of the Vietnam War, resources had been really directed away from science funding and had really been put into military expenditures and to revving up the military. And universities were simply not hiring new faculty. The hiring had really slowed down considerably, and that meant that the American professorate that was doing a lot of research in science was getting considerably older. So, as he said to me, if science is really a young person's game, we're in trouble. And in physics, this has been a popular belief. The physicist Dirac even wrote a poem about it in which he said, "Age is a fever chill that every physicist must fear. He's better dead than living still when once he's past his 30th year." So, pretty sobering, right? So Alan Factor said, "Paula, you know, you're used to thinking about data, you're used to thinking about questions. Why don't you really start thinking about doing research in this area?" Well, it's truly an interdisciplinary topic. I mean, it's not something you just look at as an economist. And that challenge really opened new opportunities that I never would have dreamed of 10 years earlier and set me on a path to interdisciplinary approach to studying how economics shapes science. And really, my whole career took a major turn as a result of that conversation. And it has led me to participate in numerous policy committees working closely with biomedical scientists, chemists, physicists, and engineers. I have to say that the reason I'm a Phi Beta Kappa visiting scholar is that a chair of one of those committees nominated me. He's a protein structure researcher. He was at the Weill Cornell Medical School at the time, totally outside my field, but I had the great opportunity of working with him on a National Academy committee. And it's also opened the possibility for me to be a visiting faculty member at a large number, or a number of places, including time spent in Germany, Italy, and Belgium. And my time in Germany is totally a result of a faculty member from Grinnell College who 25 years later found me, called me up, and he said, "Hey, Paula, I'm on the board of the Wissenschaftszentrum for Social Forschung," which I could hardly say at that time, in Berlin, and he said, "They're looking for somebody I really think with your skills. Is it okay if I nominate you?" And I said, "Definitely." And he nominated me. I didn't get the job, but I was invited to be there as a visiting scholar for a while, and it opened up incredible opportunities for me. I met new co-authors, and I started doing new research. So, you see, my mother was right about those connections you make when you're a student with faculty members and how they can have a big effect much later in your life. Now, it's not only that a liberal arts education gave me the background for an evolving and changing career and opened opportunities that I would not have had, but it's also contributed greatly to my choice of leisure pursuits. Another benefit my mother in this speech she had was all typed out in blue ribbon on this little sheets of paper. It was very, very sweet. Another benefit my mother attributed to a liberal arts college is that it really helps you enjoy life and benefit from different things you did. And it made me open to appreciating opera. And I have to say that when I met my late husband 45 years ago, and I learned that opera was kind of a necessary condition of this relationship, I really wasn't sure I was going to make it. But I not only made it, I have now been to something like 185 operas. I keep a spreadsheet of the operas I go to, and I can tell you who I've heard sing in what opera houses. I never would have been open to that. I think if I hadn't taken courses in music appreciation at Grinnell and been open to that kind of experience. And it led me to join a book club in Atlanta. And this book club is not your standard book club. We only read classics, and classics included such things as Moby Dick and War and Peace, The Tin Drum, light reading. Basically, Dante, all of Dante, so fairly light reading. And it really gave me that curiosity that we've been talking about earlier. And it also provided me wonderful friends over a long career. People I went to college with and shared this liberal arts experience with, I still see. I'm going to see one when I go to the University of Kansas as a Phi Beta Kappa visiting scholar in 2 weeks. I spent time with one good friend in Europe last spring. It provided lifelong friendships. So, just by way of summary, congratulations on your selection, on your participation in this ceremony, and you're choosing a liberal arts curriculum. My very best wishes.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Stephan, for your remarks. I have to say, I think there might actually be a fourth point there, which is that you should listen to your mother because she is often right. We've been honored to have you as part of our chapter's induction ceremony tonight. This is a special time for our chapter as we are preparing to celebrate our 10th anniversary. The actual anniversary date is a little complicated. We were awarded the chapter charter at the 2009 Phi Beta Kappa Triennial Council meeting, though we didn't have our induction and sort of officially start our chapter until spring of 2010. So it seems fitting to consider 2019 through 2020 as sort of our anniversary period, because more celebrating is good, and we have a lot to celebrate. As part of that celebration, we would like to recognize President Emeritus Leo Lambert for his many contributions to the establishment and the growth of the ADA chapter. In addition to his commitment to the arts and sciences at Elon, Dr. Lambert is also a passionate advocate for the importance of early childhood education and for university community partnerships. Therefore, the ADA chapter has made a donation in Dr. Lambert's honor to the Village Project. The Village Project, which is housed in the Elon Center for Access and Success, brings together students, faculty, and staff with community partners to provide literacy tutoring for local school students. See, early childhood, never too early. I would now like to invite to the podium Dr. Lambert and Professor Emeritus Dr. Russ Gill, who is our chapter's first president, and who will read a proclamation.
I have the honor to be able to read the citation. I worked with President Lambert when we were establishing the chapter here. This is a wonderful opportunity. Whereas Leo Lambert was unfailing in his encouragement and leadership in establishing a Phi Beta Kappa chapter at Elon University, and whereas Leo Lambert had a vision of the value of Phi Beta Kappa in affirming the essential role of the liberal arts and sciences at Elon, and whereas Leo Lambert understood from the outset that the Phi Beta Kappa journey would be valuable for Elon regardless of the final outcome, because it would strengthen our commitment to superior teaching, learning, and research in the arts and sciences, And whereas the Phi Beta Kappa initiative impacted every aspect of the university, foreign language became a graduation requirement, the honors program was revamped, the Office of National and International Fellowships was established, support for faculty scholarship and the number of tenure-track positions were increased, and library resources were expanded. And whereas Leo Lambert provided us with a model for excellence in setting ambitious goals, working collaboratively to achieve them, and learning from initial failure. And whereas Elon's final successful chapter application greatly benefited from Dr. Lambert's CEO attentiveness to document design, his loan of the President's office staff for editing assistance resulted in an application so highly polished that it glowed in the dark. And whereas Leo Lambert worked with unremitting good humor, amazing grace, and thoughtful diplomacy to represent Elon as effectively in person to Phi Beta Kappa officials as our final application represented us on paper. He supported the site visit by Phi Beta Kappa evaluators in 2008, attended the 2009 Triennial Phi Beta Kappa Conference in Austin, Texas, for the Society's vote on petitions for new chapters, and hosted Society officers in 2010 to celebrate the installation of the Ada chapter of North Carolina, the dedication of Phi Beta Kappa Plaza, and the induction of new members. Therefore, be it resolved that in recognition of his pivotal role in making tonight possible, the Ada chapter, North Carolina, of Phi Beta Kappa expresses deep thanks on this, the first day of April 2019, to Foundation member Leo Lambert for his extraordinary service. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. That was a long tribute. Congratulations, graduates. I want to say to you that critical thinking has never been needed more than we need it in our world right now. And I think mentoring and human relationships that have never been required more than we need them right now. And you know that as students, having experienced deep, transformative mentoring as undergraduates here at Elon, what a difference that makes in your life. And particularly the members of the class of 2019 who will be going out into the world and graduating. I want you to understand that there are many young people out there who are going to be relying on you to be their mentors and helping them uncover their gifts and discover the contributions that they have to make in the world, because not everybody out there has an extraordinary opportunity for an education like you've had here at Elon. So think about this time in your lives as a time when you transition from being the mentee to someone who's going to go out in the world and be a force as a mentor. That's what it means to graduate from this university. The provost's words tonight were so completely eloquent, and I couldn't agree more that this motto is about practice. It's not a motto up here on a banner. It's about a way of living your life and living your life alongside others. Congratulations, graduates. We are extraordinarily proud of each and every one of you, and we celebrate you tonight. Thank you.
All right, let's get this show on the road. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow members of Phi Beta Kappa, and honored guests. We meet here today to receive into our society those who, having qualified for election, now wish to be admitted to its privileges and undertake its responsibilities. In a ceremony that goes back to the time of the founding of our nation, we shall welcome them into an association with all those who have been members of Phi Beta Kappa in the past and into a lifelong relationship with the society today. The candidates for membership in course will please rise. According to Phi Beta Kappa documents dating from 1779, the president of Alpha Chapter greeted initiates as follows. This society was founded by a few friends. At first, it was confined to a small number of very worthy students. They planted the scion, from which has grown this tree that now buds forth before your eyes with blossoms of harmony and concord. It was engrafted on the stock of friendship in the soil of virtue, enriched by literature. To cherish and keep it alive hath been the constant care of those members who have succeeded. You are about to become one of those successors, and it is our fondest hope that you in turn will come to cherish the society and will strive to perpetuate the spirit of this greeting. You may be seated. As is customary on this occasion, Phi Beta Kappa member Becca Bishopric-Patterson will give you a brief account of the history of the society.
On December 5th, 1776, a group of young men studying at the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia, met to create a secret society, at once both about intellectual and social in purpose. The president's greeting to new members in 1779 reads in part, "Here you are to indulge in matters of speculation, that freedom of inquiry that ever dispels the clouds of falsehood by the radiant sunshine of truth." In their meetings, the members seriously debated questions such as whether a wise state hath any interest nearer to heart, such as educating its youth. The establishment soon afterward of chapters at Yale and Harvard ensured that Phi Beta Kappa would survive the arrival of General Cornwallis's troops in Williamsburg. In 1883, the United Chapters of Phi Beta Kappa was founded. It has its headquarters today in Washington, D.C. About the same time, the society invited its first women and African American members to join. Today, the society has over 500,000 members elected over the years by 286 chapters at colleges and universities around the country. Additionally, there are 50 active alumni associations. The Ada chapter of North Carolina was installed at Elon University April 13th, 2010. 64 Elon faculty and staff members are Phi Beta Kappa, along with the 54 students who are being inducted into membership tonight. Activities of the local chapter have included awarding grants from the Fund for Excellence in the Arts and Sciences, selection of scholarship winners, and sponsorship of a variety of speakers, panel discussions, and special events in keeping with the mission of Phi Beta Kappa. Phi Beta Kappa retains a number of symbols that were devised at a time when the American Republic was just coming into being, such as those that are found on the Phi Beta Kappa key, which bears the Greek letters Phi Beta Kappa, which, as you've heard tonight, means the love of learning is the guide of life. The 3 stars in the upper left-hand corner of this side symbolize the aims of the society: friendship, morality, and literature or scholarship. A pointing hand in the lower right-hand corner stands for aspiration. Although Phi Beta Kappa ceased to be a secret society over 150 years ago, the tradition has preserved a few secret signs, which were shared to initiates by email, I think, if you read it. When members met, they greeted each other by drawing the backs of the index and middle fingers of the right hand across the lips from left to right, thus apparently affirming that their lips were sealed. This followed with a secret handshake, which has also been revealed to you by email, and which you will get an opportunity to practice tonight. The Society's symbols and purposes are now well known throughout the land. These purposes were eloquently summarized in the following statement by one of the Society's most eminent members, Charles Evans Hughes, the late Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. The particular interest of Phi Beta Kappa is in liberal education. Intensive critical study of educational aims and methods has found nothing to take its place. It means the development by careful training of the capacity to appreciate what has been done and thought, the ability to make worthwhile appraisals of achievements, doctrines, theories, and proposals. It is liberal because it emancipates. It signifies freedom from the tyranny of ignorance and, from what is worse, the dominion of folly. Phi Beta Kappa holds aloft the old banner of scholarship, and to the students who have turned aside from the easier path and by their talent and fidelity have proved themselves to be worthy, gives the fitting recognition of a special distinction.
Will the candidates for members in course please rise again? In accordance with the rules of this chapter, and in consequence of our good opinion of your intellectual and moral character, supported by your record of high attainment at this institution, you have been selected as worthy of becoming members of Phi Beta Kappa. Your names have been submitted to the scrutiny of the constitutional electors of this chapter and have met with their approval. You have been formally notified of your election, and by your presence here, signify your desire to be enrolled as members of this ancient and honorable society. Therefore, I now inquire, do you solemnly promise that you will be true and faithful to Phi Beta Kappa, uphold its standards, obey its laws, and seek to reflect credit upon your affiliation with this venerable fellowship of learners? If so, answer, we do. Thank you. You may be seated. Each of you has now affirmed your loyalty to Phi Beta Kappa and pledged to uphold its standards. We welcome you into the ranks of membership and ask that you now come forward as the secretary calls your name, sign the chapter register, and receive the chapter's greetings in the form of the ancient grip of the society. Let's hope we're all ready. Will the secretary please come and read the names of the 2019 initiates?
I am delighted to introduce to you our new inductees, which includes 50 seniors from the class of 2019 and 4 exceptional juniors from the class of 2020. Please come forward as I call your name to accept your certificate and sign the roll. Maya Christine Aboutanos. Elizabeth H. Albritton. Jenna Nicole Asarese. Abigayle Paige Barker. Jenna Elizabeth Bayer. Jamie Elizabeth Bottino. Liam Jordan Brailey. Paige Ann Carlin. Madeline Grace Davis. Marta Louise Djalleta. Kylie Joy Donahue. Michael Harris Dryzer. Martha Beatriz Figueroa Saenz. Rebecca Corinne Foley. Audrey Lynn Funk. Nicole Lee Galanti. Hannah Greenfader Demel. Lara Elena Horton. Sophia Ann Huster. Madison Janelle Jadon. Samuel Dylan Jenkins. Jasmine Mariliza Jones.
No rush, this is your day.
Lindsay Marie Jordan. Ilana Devin Kaplan. Jenna Marie Cushion. Erin Elizabeth Kelly. Mary Ellen Kempf. Christina Sophie Kennedy. Congratulations. Abigayle Claire Knowles. Hope Bethany Kuna. Lindsay Nicole Maldari. Alexandra Anna Marek. Christina J. Meyer. Julianne Marie Papadopoulos. Nicole Alexandra Plant. Chrysandra Louise Proventure. Jessica Dane Push. Anna Maria Virginia Sotolongo. Naya Vernell Young Spearman. Isabel Rose Trainer. Sarah Elizabeth Wasserman. Catherine Rebecca Westover. Caitlin Tyson Wynn. Sophie Ricka Zinn. A handful of students are being inducted in absentia this evening, so I'll recognize them by reading their names briefly. Lucy Crenshaw, Kayla Ervin, Melody FisherLewek, Ashley Jutras, Emma Muscari, Matthew Semple, Carly Schabach, and Thomas Sheehy. And last year, we had 4 students from the class of 2019 with extraordinary academic records who were inducted as juniors, and we're fortunate to have 2 of them here with us this evening. So Mira Waxman and Diani Texira, would you please stand and be recognized? Congratulations to you all on this extraordinary achievement.
All right, once again, if the initiates will please rise. By election of the chapter, and by your assent to its pledge and the placing of your signature in its book, the Society's requirement for initiation are fully satisfied. I, therefore, in the presence of these members of the Society, declare you to be members of the chapter of Phi Beta Kappa in the state of North Carolina. I authorize you to wear its key as a badge and to participate in its meetings. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. You are now lifetime members of the nation's oldest academic honor society. Be active in its programs and the community alumni associations, support its endeavors and lofty goals, and be a working advocate for the liberal arts in our society. It is now my pleasure to welcome you as members of the chapter. You may be seated again. But let's give our inductees one more round of applause. I love this ceremony, even though I have to confess I am still not very comfortable, even after 46 practice rounds with the secret handshake. Thank you all. I participate in Elon's wonderful wellness program, and one of the things that I do is the yoga classes at lunch, and I went today because I was a little bit nervous about everything that was happening tonight. And one of the things that I really admire about our yoga class is one of the things that we do is think about our gratitude practice. And so right now, I would like to practice some gratitude. And there are a number of people that I'd like to thank for their contributions. First, I want to thank all of our speakers for their wisdom and their inspiration. And again, thank you to the parents and the families for being here with us. I know some of you had to travel far, and we appreciate that you could be here to share this special evening with us. I want to thank Carolyn Ent from the Office of the President for her hard work coordinating this lovely event. I also want to thank the ADA chapter members for their hard work pulling this all together, especially the members of the Arrangements and Planning Committee, and our indefatigable secretary, Sarah Kretsch, for her tireless checking and rechecking and emailing and all of the amazing work she's done. If we could just give her a hand. None of this would be possible without Sarah's work. She actually just shared with me at dinner that there is someone here has brought a key that has been passed down through their family from, is it 1926, as an heirloom, and given it to their new student member. So again, this is it's a big deal, and hopefully you will also treasure your membership, and if you should choose to get a key, that's something that you should remember. Just a reminder, tomorrow, Dr. Stephan will be giving a public lecture entitled How Economics Shapes Science. It will be held in the LaRose Digital Theater in the Corey Business Center at 5 p.m., and we hope to see a lot of you there. And finally, one last congratulations to our inductees. Please feel free to stick around for a few minutes if you would like to take pictures in front of the Phi Beta Kappa gonfalon. That is one of my favorite medieval words. It basically just means a big banner. And if I may ask, anyone who is a psychology major or minor, the psychology department would like to take a group photo. So if you would gather at the gonfalon, please. And that concludes this evening events. Thank you and good night.